You're listening to The Broker's Terminal, a Mass Effect podcast. This month on The Broker's Terminal, Season 1, Episode 1, we discuss what the podcast will be about, the hosts, and the role Mass Effect plays in our lives. Thank you for listening. This is The Broker's Terminal, a Mass Effect podcast. Hello and welcome to the first episode, The Broker's Terminal, the love child of Lexie, who's here with me, and myself, Rachel. So we are really excited for Broker's Terminal. It came to us in a dream, and we were thinking to ourselves, we play video games a lot together, and sip the tea a lot together, and enjoy Mass Effect a lot together. Why don't we record all the things that we talk about related to Mass Effect and share it with the world? So my name is Rachel. Many people know me as Radical618. I'm here with my friend Lexie, and we are going to talk about Mass Effect. But before we do that, let's introduce ourselves. So, Lexie.
All right. Well, as you know, my name is Lexie. You can find me on Twitter at JoanLemmySmash. Yes, that's a Wentworth reference. And you can also find me sometimes on Twitch at Zaria's_wife. Unfortunately, someone has the original name, and I'm stuck with the underscore. But sometimes I stream when my internet allows it. And basically, I've been playing Mass Effect for a long time. But so I think we have some authority there. It's been, almost a decade now.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that's where you can find me most of the time, online anyway, or playing games on Rach's stream.
Yes, you do show up on my stream a lot, and we usually get positive feedback when Lexi and I are gaming together, especially
Or drunk.
when we're drunk. The love that is shared between the two of us when alcohol is involved is unreal.
Great.
So Lexi, I'm truly so thrilled that you agreed to do this with me. For those of you who can't already tell, Lexi and I have tremendous chemistry in terms of our friendship, and there was no other person that I think I'd rather do a Mass Effect podcast with. In fact, I'll go on the record on the very first episode to say I'm pretty sure you know more about Mass Effect than I do.
Well, we'll see.
Maybe
if it comes down to lore debates, maybe I might have you there, but
you do. Yeah, I was going to say, I think maybe I appreciate you giving me credit. Maybe it depends on the topic.
True.
Yeah.
True. I think you know every single thing about Liara Tosoni more
almost
than I do.
Every single thing. But all the other characters you have me beat, so I've crowned you the victor there. Yeah, and then just to sort of round it out, again, my name is Rachel. Many people know me as Radical618. You can find me almost everywhere on the internet as Radical618. On Instagram, I'm Radical618TTV because somebody has Radical618. I don't know who they are. They're certainly not me. You can find me on Twitter, Radical618, and also, as Lexi mentioned, I do stream on Twitch on Tuesday nights and Wednesday mornings, and sometimes on the weekends at twitch.tv/Radical618. And similar to Lexi, I have also been playing Mass Effect for a very long time. I have deep dived into it in many different avenues and mediums, and it holds such a special place in my heart. I know it holds a special place in Lexi's heart as well. And before we get into all the mushy gushiness about why we love Mass Effect, we just want to take some time to explain to you what the Broker's Terminal is going to be. So yes, it's a Mass Effect podcast, but it's more than just talking about the games. It's really just celebrating what Mass Effect is, the legacy that it's left on the gaming community and beyond, and just the ways that people continue to pay respect to Mass Effect. We hope to have some guests on the show. I already have some people that I'm talking to about coming on. And like I said, they're not even necessarily people who know the games as well as Lexie and I do, but they're people who have, weaved themselves into the Mass Effect community, create Mass Effect content, and can just share the love that they have for the stories as well. Um, Lexie, I didn't tell you I was going to do this, but do you have anything that you want to see out of the podcast?
Oh, put me on the spot. Well,
Yeah.
I think, as you said, it is kind of our love child here. I mean, there have been enough streams where, when the legendary edition dropped, I know we were playing Apex and we were distracted because we were talking about Miranda Lawson so much in the middle of a firefight.
Yeah.
And so now I think giving us this space to truly talk about something that we're all very passionate about and what Mass Effect means to us and its impact. I mean, we're going to get into it, but Mass Effect really culturally, I think BioWare has this sort of reputation for what they've brought to the table in terms of storytelling and, to a degree, role-playing games, and especially sci-fi, as it is kind of a cumulative series that has so many references to things like Star Trek and aliens and things like that, that we see in the game, and continues the love for sci-fi, with the action adventure in there as well. And in general, I just think it's going to be a good little space for us to sit down for an hour at a time and talk between ourselves, which is going to be easy, and talk with some guests
Sure.
and get to hear their experiences as well.
Go figure, guys. Well, maybe some of you don't know Lexi the way that I do, but she said it perfectly. That's kind of everything that I would like to see for the podcast. I'm going to just throw this out there. Episode 1, I say go big or go home. Allie Hillis, if you're listening and you ever want to come on the podcast, you are welcome. Please do. But in sincerity, like if we got to a point where we were able to, have people who've participated in the creation of the game of any kind, heck yeah, like it would just be so great to sit here. And there's not, honestly, in my opinion, like we can fangirl, but we're also really good at recognizing like, hey, these people are people too, and we could just sit down and
Have a conversation.
yeah. I was trying to think of a better term than shoot the shit, but I can't. So whatever. We get a few curse words now and then on the podcast. I think that's fair. Cool. So I promise Lexi is not going to be put on the spot with this one, but since we talked about it a little bit, Lexi, why don't you share with our listeners what Mass Effect is to you? What legacy did it leave on your life?
Oh boy. So let's go back to about 2012. I was away. I'd been involved in like Tumblr and other social media sites. So I'd heard, and I was into video gaming, and I'd heard of Mass Effect, and it was someone that I was formerly close with back then, who recommended that I should play Mass Effect, that they thought I would really like it. So at that point, I was a young freshman who had gone off to school for the first time away from home. I was 18, and I had started to get into it before I left home, just with Mass Effect 1 and on the good old Xbox 360 that I still have to this day, that still runs sometimes. And so I could really go back if I wanted to. And I started getting into it. I was like, okay, this is cool, sci-fi, and I mean, it was on the Xbox. It was a little clunky, as the Xbox is, and how big of a games they were, sorry. And so then I would go away to school, and then every weekend I'd come home to bring my laundry, and I would sit and I binged. I absolutely binged on. I would leave early Friday because I didn't have any classes. I would come home, start doing my laundry, because trying to share 2 laundry machines between 3 floors of students, with two students to a room, about 30 rooms.
Mm-hmm.
You never got to wash in cold water. It was great. And anyway, so I'd come home and I'd binge them. I finished Mass Effect 1. Now, obviously, I definitely did not do all the side quests and everything, but I wanted to get through the story. And then I'd go back to school for a week. Then I'd come home and I binged Mass Effect 2. And same thing with 3. And I can remember very distinctly that day I finally finished Mass Effect 3. I was an emotional wreck. I sat there, curled up in my blanket, in my computer chair,
Yeah.
bawling. It had such an emotional impact on me, and as someone who was away from home at the time and adjusting to things, and then, later on I ended up leaving that university. It was not a good fit for me, and I came home. And it was again, I started replaying it and then got involved with more on the Tumblr community, and finding a lot of my mutuals that I still have to this day on my Tumblr blog from a decade ago because of our love for Mass Effect. And so, I found kind of the online community, and I love the story, and then from there I got into other BioWare games, most notably Dragon Age. um, and it was just something that had such a profound impact on me at such a important point in my life, becoming an adult and moving out of home for the first time, and all that kind of thing. So for me, it's something that I hold near and dear to my heart. And can go back to time and time again. I will have a whole episode, I'm sure, about modding, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
rebought. I still have it on disc, the original trilogy that I feel like they released it in about 2014, 2015. They repackaged um, the original trilogy as a set in one
Yes,
box.
I have it.
Yeah, I have it too.
Yeah.
And so I bought it for at the time, my quote unquote beloved potato PC that was a store bought gateway, that was not meant for gaming. I don't know how I managed to get Dragon Age Inquisition to work on that thing, but I did. I did. And then eventually that thing started to die, and now I have my baby, my first home built rig. But I managed to do that, and I had a great time learning how to mod the game because, like many of us in the LGBT community, we were a little shafted in terms of romances and just appearance things. I mean, I'm sorry, but Femshep with her little noodle arms in 3, that needed to fix. And to the person who made the buff Femshep mod out there, I love you. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you live, but wherever you are in this world, if you're still around, you're amazing. Um, but and that was kind of like, it renewed my interest in it again. I was able to replay it again with with the forbidden gay romances that I cherished for the the type of woman that BioWare seems to consistently make heterosexual. It's tragic. That's my one downfall, guys. Is if she's brunette and intelligent and strong-hearted with a loving family, I just fall head over heels. Um, so I got to have that experience, and so it's like again and again, with that, and then now with the Legendary Edition, it's consistent. Over a period of almost 10 years, it's been a part of my life. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much kind of my backstory with it. And it's gotten to a point where I even cosplayed Mass
Mm-hmm.
Effect.
Mm-hmm.
I cosplayed Casual Shepherd, and I met a friend of mine named Michaela, who we've also been friends since 2013. We've done a number of cons together. I commissioned her to make my Mass Effect 3 Ashley armor. And I also cosplayed Vega at one point because his outfit is very easy and comfortable. Um,
That's a good
and
idea,
and
dude.
met
Oh, that's a good
yeah,
idea.
yeah. The only unfortunate downfall to my James Vega cosplay was that the pair of combat boots that I bought, actual military combat boots that I bought used from Military Depot, they were like half a size too small. They
Oh
should have been a
no.
half size bigger, so my feet
Yeah.
were a little uncomfy by the end of the weekend. But and so that's another aspect that I've made friends with is cosplay. Now I
Mm-hmm.
don't do it as much now, COVID things aside, but cosplay is an expensive hobby
Yes.
sometimes, um, which I do love it. I will still do it if I had the resources and the time to make things. But when I did have the time and the resources, it was a good time. So again and again, I think the theme for me is that it's just constantly been a part of my life, and we got Andromeda, and then now with rumored of quote unquote Mass Effect quote unquote 4.
Mm-hmm.
I'll use that loosely
Yeah.
until we get a determined title, but it's just going to keep coming, and I think all of us veteran fans are just going to be right back at it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's where I'm at.
I love it. I do want to make sure that I let listeners know that we will have probably more than one episode regarding Andromeda, regarding what comes next. I don't want to say too much about us being Lexie and I, but we are both very good at recognizing that the original trilogy was uh, Shepard's story, but Mass Effect does not have to be. And so we will definitely be taking time to talk about that.
Well, and it's such an expansive universe. You can't, like, we love Shepard. We all love Shepard. We all love Shepard, but there's such a huge universe that it would be criminal not to give it its due.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, Lexi, very nicely said. I think I knew personally most of that about you. I don't know, remember. I'm sure you've told me, but I didn't remember you did the James Vega cosplay. So like my response being like, "Oh, that's really smart," was genuine because I had forgotten. So
I'll have to find that picture. I have a picture of a friend of mine who was cosplaying Kasumi that year,
yes,
and there is a picture of me on the lawn at Enemy North doing try my posture's not great, but I was trying to do a push-up with them on my back. It was great.
yeah. That, oh, you know what?
I'll have to find it.
I remember seeing it. And you know what I was going to say was, you're pretty proud and open regarding your cosplay, but we could save the cosplay pictures, as we hit different milestones with our followers and our likes. So if you
Oh
like these
boy.
videos, maybe Lexi will release these pictures to the public, but I'm not going to make her, confirm or deny that.
I mean, they are out there. They are on my blog, but that URL, well, you'll have to find that one yourself.
That's great. That's great. Cool. Anything else about Mass Effect and its, impact on your life that you want to make sure you go over?
Like I said, cosplaying was one I wanted to touch on there.
Mhm.
Other than that, like, I mean, again, it's something, like I said, I'm sitting here right now still making my way through the Mass Effect 3 Legendary Edition
Yeah,
because I know what's coming.
right.
Um, but, here I am, you know, gripped, yet again by BioWare to spend money to play Mass Effect things again,
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely.
that's like I said, I've paid for the trilogy 3 times over. Um, with the original set on Xbox and the trilogy released for PC, and now the Legendary Edition. So Bioware kind of owns my soul.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll use that segue to move into talking about the impact that Mass Effect has left on me. It's not unsimilar from Lexi's, but a little bit different. So I will also say I have purchased the trilogy 3 times. I did buy it on PC probably about a year and a half ago, like right almost about 6 months before they announced that they were doing Legendary Edition, and I only played it for like a small period of time because there was no controller support, and I'm a controller pleb. So I bought it and gave BioWare my money again. But I didn't really play it. But I also have bought it 3 times. So cheers to us. Yeah. So just to kind of start at the beginning. I didn't think I forgot about this. So my video game experience was probably kind of I started playing video games probably later than people would expect, especially because of how many video games I play now and how often I play them. But I don't really consider myself I didn't consider myself a gamer pretty much until about 2011. The first big girl game that I played was Skyrim. And so I came across Skyrim through my then boyfriend, now husband, and we started dating, and he said to me, like, "Hey, by the way, you're great and I really like you, but in November there's this game coming out that I've been waiting for way longer than I've known you, and I'm just gonna be playing that." And I was like, "Okay, that's dope. Appreciate the heads up." I sat and watched him play it, and then like one day, like probably about a month after he was playing it, I was like, "Whoa, I I want to play that. I want to role play. I want to do that. That was made for me." So to fast forward, I figured out that I really liked role playing games, and I played Dishonored. I played Tomb Raider when it came out in 2013, and then one day I was with my brother, who's 8 years younger than me. Shout out to him, Ted. I love you. And we were in a GameStop, and I was like, "Ted, I've played these games. I don't know what to play next. I really want to play something, but I'm not really sure." And he had played Mass Effect while I was in college. So, because in 2013 I had already graduated college, and it was just before I was heading to grad school. And he he was like, "You know what? I know something you're gonna like." And at that point, he was about 15, I think. Yeah, and he like dragged me over to a shelf. He took the bundle that Lexi was mentioning with like there's actually 5 discs, but all the discs and all the games. And he said, Rachel, you're going to love this. You can make your own character and you can be a lesbian. And I was like, great. Yeah, this sounds perfect to me. Absolutely. What more could a woman want, really? So I bought it. And years later, he told me that, he probably wouldn't have used the word lesbian again, but he said, I was thinking distinctly of Liara, and he was like, I should have just said you can romance Liara, but you wouldn't have known what that meant. So I built it up for you, and I was like, cool, thanks. So that's how I got into Mass Effect. So it was at the end of 2013. I had started grad school, but I was still living with my boyfriend in a different city than where my school was. But then I realized I need to move to the city in where my grad school was, and he was not coming with me. So I had finished the first game very close to the end of December 2013, and I was moving in January. So I was in the middle of Mass Effect 2 when I moved. And what ended up happening was, because I was by myself in this new city, I had friends at school, but I didn't really know anybody else there. The crew, the squad mates and the supporting cast, if you will, of Mass Effect pretty much became my best friends. They were there to greet me when I got home from school, when I got home from work, and they were who I had. And one of them in particular really became, and I still consider her truly like a best friend. And that is Dr. Liara Tosoni. She just was a character rather that I really connected with, and I do say this with respect to her romance, separate from her romance. Like, romancing her is great; she's a great romance, but like, just the character of Liara really stood out to me. Like I said, I resonated with her very deeply, and similar to Lexie, I found myself interacting with people online in a role play atmosphere. So I took on the role of Liara in a written role play community, and that was really when I was like, oh my gosh, this character is the bee's knees. I truly just like have never, only one other character ever in the history of fiction. Shout out to you, Miss Lorelai Gilmore, resonated so deeply with like the kind of person I am and all of that. So much of Mass Effect's legacy for me lies center with Liara, and so that's kind of the deepest seated piece of Mass Effect for me. In terms of the games, I will be the first to admit that like it really wasn't until I replayed them a month and a half ago that I was like curling up in a ball. Poor Lexie had to deal with me like for like 4 days after I finished the Mass Effect 3. I was like, Lexie, I can't breathe. Like, I don't know what to do. And I truly don't remember experiencing that when I first was playing it all those years ago. And I think that may have been because of the situation I was in. I was role playing so often. I was really very focused on Liara, and so I finished the game and I just kind of like turned over to role playing. Whereas like this time, I don't currently role play Liara, and I was just very like, holy cow, this is my original Shepherd. I'm doing this again with Liara. Like, here's Miranda Lawson, who I really, really like, and all these other characters. I'm doing things for the first time I had never done. And so it just kind of like brought me back to that time when I was very lonely. And these people and these characters really, really helped me through. So Mass Effect for me is a testament to like what family can do for you, and what friends can do for you, and how important it is to have these people that you can turn to. I know they're fictional. I know that they don't know me, but wow, BioWare, you really make us feel like they do. And yeah, I think that's Mass Effect's legacy for me. I do think this might be an appropriate time for me to well, no, I'll save that for another. We'll save that for the Liara episode. I have a nice anecdote about Liara, but I'll save that. I don't want to give everything away on the first date. But yeah, so that's. I think that sums up my Mass Effect experience.
Yeah.
Sums it up.
Well,
I could go on and on about it, but
and really, we knew each other
yes,
vaguely.
Yes.
You made fun of me for not being able to say that word at all. But we knew each other briefly in the Mass Effect roleplay community on Tumblr. That back then I had my Miranda blog, my Shepard mainly, and then I had an Ashley and
Yeah.
whoever else at that point. But mostly Miranda. But like we knew each other, I think, across mutuals, but never really talked too much or wrote together. But and that was God, that was 2013, 2014. Like that was
Yeah.
definitely back then. And then we happened to reconnect through a gaming server in the last couple of years, just before the pandemic hit the fan. And that's wild to me. To me, it's this longevity that
Yes.
BioWare has brought to the table that has its fans hooked. Whether you're a casual player who's played through it and enjoyed the games, and that's it. But I feel like a majority of BioWare fans are invested. There's always a favorite character, a favorite romance. People have their canon shepherds, or they just play the default shepherds and they love them. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to pass judgment here, but
You can. I mean, it's okay. It's our podcast.
well, no, I mean, you do what you want.
Sure.
I just
Absolutely.
personally, just as an anecdote, in any game where you're giving me the option to make a custom character, I am going to make a custom character because
Right.
then they become my like, yeah, they're the canon character, but also they're kind of like,
There.
they're like you're half your original character. They're half canon, half OC content.
Yes. And
Where you
go.
go ahead, go ahead.
No. No. No.
Oh, I was gonna say you have these options where you're making their appearance, and you can play it to the story, and that's who they are. But you can add these little headcanons as you go about. Like my shepherd has all these scars, and she's tattooed, and Bioware. I mean, the CC was a little limited. Let's be real, but I can imagine these things or commission art and get the artist to draw them for me because I can't. But we get to have these stories created for us in the game, but also it gives us such, and I said this before, it's such a vast universe that whether you're writing fan fiction or role playing or whatever it is you're doing with a piece of fiction that you enjoy so much, it's there for you.
Yeah, and something you said that I want to just jump back to, all related to what you just said, but something specific was the investment that people make, whether it's super nerds like us jumping into role play, or people who participate in tabletop RPGs in the Mass Effect universe, or people who create fan art, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, or whether it's casual players. There's still a level of investment. One thing I didn't talk about when I was talking about the legacy that Mass Effect has left on my life, I also played Andromeda. I liked it very much, and I think that just goes back to the testament of longevity and the investment that people make. And that's why there was so much outrage a little bit about what Andromeda was. And it was really out of love, and I think it's sometimes easy to look at it and say these people are being mean, but it's really because the Mass Effect community cares so much about this product that BioWare has given us, because of our connection to it. When even people who use the default shepherds, they're still putting themselves in it. There's still decisions to be made,
Oh yeah.
and so it really, a piece of us really goes through turmoil and the stress of the Reaper War, and it's not easy to let that go.
No, and I think that's the thing is especially because we have a trilogy of games. That's 3 games where you're putting at least 30 to 40, if not closer to 60 hours in each game, depending on how many side quests you decide to do and how long it takes you to do them, depending on your difficulty level. Shadow to the insanity playthrough I started and never finished. Oh my
Yeah,
god,
shout
that's how
out to my
crazy I knew
own.
it.
I only play on casual. No shame.
I
Um,
I think I can get up to hard, but then you get into Mass Effect 3 and you get
God,
those stupid Cerberus engineers and their stupid little turrets.
no,
Oh
no thanks.
no, I had to switch it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
Um, but I think like we're spending so many hours into this universe, into these games, that your protagonist. So yeah, you have your choices of dialogue, and we're probably going to talk about the Paragon Renegade system. I think that would be a good topic
Mm,
to fully branch out
write it
into,
down.
in morality in Mass Effect, which is what I'm writing down right now. But you still kind of get a sense for your character, and I mean, whether people are playing full Paragon, full Renegade, or somewhere in between, you're still kind of developing a sense of self within that character, maybe a connection to that character. And and I mean, and I'll touch on my canon shepherd Alice, who I had the background of both colonist and sole survivor, which
Tough.
that one's it's rough.
Yeah.
You have a shepherd who lost their entire family at 16, and then like 5 years into their military service, their unit gets attacked by thresher maws on the planet Akuz, and Shepard is the sole survivor, as far as they know, for of about 49 other Marines. And so they constantly witness this death, and so I kind of play that. She's a paragon because she's tired of seeing, well, not tired, but like she's trying her best to make sure that everybody can survive. People who can't help themselves, she can help them.
Right.
And that's kind of in my head. That's
Yeah.
how I play that character throughout the story and making these decisions. Now there's a couple choices that are a little more renegade, that I make with her specifically throughout the trilogy. I mean, there is the one where you headbutt a Krogan, but I feel like that's just part of Shepard's chaotic energy, regardless of their moral alignment. Like I don't know, it's
Sure.
just an impulse to
Sure.
hit that trigger and headbutt that Krogan.
Yeah.
You got to assert your dominance.
Yes.
But and that's just my personal take on it, and that's going to be maybe similar to some people and different to others, and that's the beauty of it within a role-playing game, is that you're getting the opportunity to not only play the game as it is, but to also develop personal headcanons or choices and why your character, your Shepard, does that. But we are so attached to Shepard that I know, with aside from the I don't want to say entirely rushed release, but I'm going to stare at EA a little bit here. Thanks, EA. But it's still a game of love. Andromeda is still a game that was
Yeah.
made with the fans in mind,
Yes.
within the universe, and trying to continue the story without reopening the like Shepard's trilogy story. Because, and we'll get into this, but a trilogy is a trilogy. If they wanted it to be Mass Effect 4, they would have made Mass Effect 4. But they didn't. They made Andromeda. They wanted a new story.
Right.
And so, I get why some folks were upset with it, but it's also still a good game. And, it's still part of this amazing universe. And, its impact is still there, even if some people don't want to acknowledge that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I fully agree. As I mentioned, we're going to have an episode or two or however many about Andromeda, about should Shepard be in the next game, and if so, how, and if not, why not? And I'm really looking forward to getting into those topics in more detail. You and I have talked about them in the past, but I think it'll be interesting to speak about them when
I'll have to replay it before then. I've only ever played it once, and I didn't quite finish it. Probably just because school. But I did quite enjoy what I had played of it. So
I mean,
I'll
it's
probably
fine.
have to do a refresher course.
Yeah, and just to sort of cap it off, it's Inquisition in space. And when you go into it realizing that that's what it is, it actually makes it a lot better. But yeah, so one thing you said that I think, if you're feeling like we can move into sort of the last part of our first episode, guys. So, I don't want to give too much away about sort of our thoughts of Mass Effect. So that way, when we're talking about it again later in different episodes, they're not like, hey, we've heard you talk about this already, because people will be like that. How are you feeling about going through our rapid fire question?
Yeah, so we kind of thought to kind of round it out a little bit in this episode, just to have some rapid fire questions. And the theme of the first episode is the host's big decisions. We kind of, before we started this episode, we gathered we thought about the sort of big choices throughout the trilogy that we wanted to include here, and just really quickly go through them. So, if you want to start, I'll read them, and if you want to give your answers, and then I'll give mine.
Heck
I
yeah,
think
let
that would be it.
read
All
them
right,
off.
all right. So, Vermeer Survivor.
On my OG playthrough, I chose Ashley to survive.
Okay, and now when it came to the council, what did you do?
I saved the council, and I chose Anderson.
Okay. And how about that? We tried to think of other big decisions in Mass Effect 2, but really, it's a great game. But the really, really big decision in that one, as we know, did you hand the collector ship over to Cerberus, or did you destroy the thing?
I destroyed it, and I do just want to say, by the way, Mass Effect 2, in my opinion, is the greatest game in the trilogy, and there's a single humongous decision.
Oh, we
and
know.
and that is so
We
funny.
know.
That is so funny. But yeah, so I did destroy the collector ship.
Right. How about the Genophage? Oh my goodness. The Genophage.
The
Is that
Genophage. I didn't do anything with the Genophage, but I did cure the Genophage.
all right. And what happened when it came down to the conflict between the Quarians and the Geth?
Okay, so I do have to think back because I played my original Shepherd most recently with the Legendary Edition, and I'm a better gamer now. So in the Legendary Edition, I got them to be copacetic. I think in my original OG Baby Rachel playthrough, I accidentally got Tally killed, and then I reloaded the save and made sure that Legion died and that they did not work together. So the OG I don't think went as well as I would have preferred it to be. So in the Legendary Edition, I fixed my mistakes as a younger gamer.
All right, and going right ahead to the big one.
Yeah.
How about the end game of Mass Effect 3? Destroy, control, synthesis, or, God forbid, refusal?
Yeah, so I am a synthesis gal through and through. I have other shepherds that I have created that I will not be choosing synthesis for, but if I, Rachel Radical 618 last name had to pick, I would pick synthesis.
All right, and now, of course, the most important
Mm.
decision,
Mhm.
rapid fire question. Who did you romance?
Liara has my heart. She is the best. She's the best girl.
All right.
All right, let's run back through, and we're gonna hear Lexie's answers now. So Lexie, shock the world
Yeah.
and tell us who you saved on Vermeer.
Ashley, hands down. Ashley's my wife with her boomstick on the beach. I'm sorry, Caden. I'm sorry. I've got a playthrough with him in the Legendary Edition where I'm actually going to give him a shot and give him a romance, but
Okay.
I haven't even got off Eden Prime yet.
Okay, well he'll forever waiting. Okay, so for the council, did you save them?
No.
Mm.
So here's the thing.
Okay.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
Here is the thing that
Okay.
I'm going to really try and quickly explain
Okay.
is so in that moment there are the distinct Paragon and Renegade choices, as there are, go ahead and save the Destiny Ascension, or, you can leave them to rot, or whatever it is Renegade Shepherd says. But the neutral option, there is a neutral option that actually ends up killing the council too. I forget exactly what the dialogue is, but it's kind of like, well, we need the forces, but it's not like Shepard saying, F you, council, you're going to die. It's like, okay, but we need our forces to focus on that Reaper. And that leads the council to die. So when I first played that, I was like, oh dear.
Oopsie.
Oh dear. So I was kind of like, well, that happened. So then, of course, when I'm replaying my canon Shepherd, I stayed with that decision.
Very good. Good for you.
And as for the counselor, I picked Anderson. I'm sorry,
Sure.
Dina, you're a trash bag.
Yeah, he sucks. No spoilers. Just kidding. Cool. So collectorship. What'd you do?
Destroyed it because you get the hands down the best dialogue option with if you have Miranda in your party, which of course I did, where she basically tells the elusive man she's quitting.
Yeah. Oh, it's hot.
It's great.
Is it hot in here? Or is it just Miranda Lawson? That's the tag of our podcast. Cool. So Quarians and the Geth. What ended up going on there for Alice?
So from what I remember, I did actually. I think I had enough to Paragon it.
Nice.
However, in my modded game, so if you just start a Mass Effect 3 playthrough without doing the other two games or in like loading in a save, it's terrible. Don't do it. I had to choose, and without I did end up editing it, so I had enough score, whatever that you needed to be able to make peace. But I watched Tally yeet herself
Yeah.
off the cliff, and I was like, oh my god,
Yeah.
no, this is
No. It's
terrible.
not
So
good.
yeah, in the original I was able to do it, but that one time I was like, I cannot not make peace.
Yeah. It's hard. That's a hard
um
one to not make peace on, I think.
yeah, also the genophage one there as well.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry. I
cured it.
missed it.
No, it's all good. I cured it. I'm sorry. I couldn't. No, I watched the alternative and I was like, and actually I did do an all renegade playthrough once with a dude ship, and that was terrible.
It's tough.
Absolutely terrible. Couldn't
Yeah.
do it.
This is why we have Lexie as part of the show, because she catches things like me missing probably one of the biggest plots in the entire game in the genophage. So thank you. All right, so here is probably everybody's favorite, question. They judge you. It's almost like picking your Hogwarts house.
God.
Which end game decision did you make?
Destroy.
Yeah,
And this is and I know some people call it controversial because you're killing synthetics, even though you just fought really hard to get the Quarians and the Geth to be at peace. But like, you fought this far, you've done your best to get the entire galaxy to come with you to fight for Earth. To try and either control the Reapers or become this God knows what between organic and synthetic life form without everybody's consent, may I add.
Oh God, now I feel bad a little. No, I don't actually.
Oh, we're gonna have a great
Oh,
endgame
that's gonna
episode.
be a good one.
Um, Destroy just seemed to me like the best option. Now, I will say, as a little anecdote, when I first picked, I for some reason I don't know if I just like didn't have subtitles on when I should have because I have hearing issues and I didn't realize it back then. But I walked towards control because haha, blue Paragon, red Renegade, and
Yeah.
I picked control the first time and I watched my shepherd disintegrate and I was like, and like you get locked into. There's a point where you can't turn shepherd around even if you
Correct.
don't like destroy the console, and I had to go through the entire thing again. But
Oof.
destroy was the ending I wanted.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, and I just want to, pop in for a second to say I only saw the control ending for the first time about 2 weeks ago. I've never seen it. And one of our friends, shout out to Tristan, said that he picked control by flipping a coin because he didn't know which one to pick. And I was like, what does that even look like? And I was like, oh my God, that is terrifying. So anyway, control is a trip, and I look forward to talking about it at a later date. Okay, and then the big question,
absolutely.
um, who's your go-to romance, Lexie?
Oh, the pain of being a lesbian BioWare gamer. um I am pain. Okay, so in my first playthrough, I did go to the Yara Romance because that was what the person who recommended it to me was like, you should romance Liara,
Sure,
romance Liara.
sure.
And I do enjoy it, and for the sake of what's the word, nostalgia, I have been romancing Liara in the Legendary Edition. She does get a lot more content than everybody else,
She
but
does. She does.
um but and it is a good romance, and I do quite enjoy the low key gay, even though they say it's they're monogendered alien species, but they're somehow all feminine. Um, you know, I do enjoy that, and for what it is, and for the content, and Miss Allie Hillis is fantastic.
Bless.
However, if I could actually have like the romance I want as my personal choice, Miranda Lawson. Hands down. And
Really?
I mean, I will.
I
I know
didn't.
you're surprised.
I am. Is that because of recent developments?
Well, no, no.
Okay.
I will say so. Ashley is also one of my favorite romances too. But I think just overall lately, in terms of myself as a person
Sure.
getting older,
Sure.
and also just enjoying the content.
Sure.
I have made male shepherds. I've romanced them both. But I think for me, I like Miranda with male or female shepherd. I just think the growth. I can do a whole episode about Miranda Lawson's arc, so don't even get me started. But
Maybe
I
we
think
will.
I think with Miranda's growth in parallel to Shepard, because you have this woman who was genetically, created um, to be perfect, had all these expectations put on her, and she's like, but I'm still a person. Whereas Shepard, earned their achievements and fought through hell, but they're also still a person.
Right.
And so they have, and they influence one another's growth to trust each other throughout Mass Effect 2 and, step and help Miranda, realize that she's stuck with Cerberus just like she was stuck with her father, and really help her along to being, a better person, not drinking the Cerberus Kool-Aid. And I think with Shepard, it's kind of, someone. What I like about them, I think ultimately, is they're like a power couple.
Yeah.
They're both
Yes.
very great in their own right, and
Yeah.
I think they work well together, regardless of gender. I think Miranda is the best girl. That's
Yeah, and
that's how I'm gonna end on that.
yeah, and just to sort of wrap that up and tie a little bow on it, I also am a very big Miranda fan. Lexie yesterday made my dreams come true, which is not untypical of Lexie, but she helped me put a mod in so that I could finally get my FemShep Miranda romance, which I just started a brand new gal, and I'm gonna enjoy the heck out of that. But for those of you who at the beginning of this episode were like, what makes these two chicks on the internet qualified to talk about Mass Effect? That's kind of what this episode was. It was a way for us to introduce ourselves to you, give you sort of our background with Mass Effect, what our decisions were, prove to you that we've played it. We didn't prove to you that we've played Andromeda, though Lexie did talk about it a little bit. But that's where we are. So. Yeah, I think, is there anything else, Lexie, that you want to make sure you add before we wrap this up?
Honestly, I've already talked my head off quite a bit
Sure.
about things,
Okay.
even on the rapid fire questions. But I think, if we have a trivia game, I'll probably win.
Oh,
Listen,
j-
listen.
ha-
I feel like I'm more than qualified. So let's.
okay. Is
I
that
think we're
like
good to
me
go.
me versus you?
No,
Oh,
I
I
just
thought
mean
you were
in
calling
general.
me
I just
out.
mean in
Okay,
general.
okay, okay, okay.
No.
Okay, okay. You can.
That mean
You would win. You were
goodness.
right. You would win. But yeah, cool. So awesome. And I just want to, I've said this to you before. I'm not just saying this because we're recording. I am truly so appreciative that you wanted to do this with me because you are, one of my best friends, dude. And there's no other person I'd rather, traverse through the galaxy with than you.
Aw. Well, I'm glad to be a part, and I'm glad that we are finally just gonna have a place for all our rambling about
Yeah.
Mass Effect for
Yeah.
people who want to listen.
And
I think that's ultimately
yeah.
the goal here.
And structured rambling at that.
Yeah.
Cool. So, guys, if you liked this podcast, please like and comment on the video. To further support, you can follow us on Twitch, on Twitter, and subscribe to me at my YouTube channel and Lexie. I didn't know if she said that she had one. We'll fix this outro for the next time. Cool. Follow her on YouTube as well. Everything discussed today will be archived on the Broker's Terminal. After all of the galaxy secrets are at the Shadow Broker's fingertips. And most importantly, guys, don't forget to stay rad. We'll see you guys next month on the Broker's Terminal.